This show is supported by you, our listener. Stick around until later to hear a little bit more about that. This is Cup of Go for Friday, August 1st, or maybe Saturday, August 2nd, something like that, 2025. Keep up to date with the important happenings in the Go community in about 15 minutes per week. I'm Jonathan Hall.
And I'm Shai Nechmad. And it's summer.
Woohoo!
I don't know about you. My kid is having her last structured activity day today. And starting next week, actually starting this weekend, it's survival mode. Actually having a kid without a kindergarten. Do you have camps or anything planned?
No, actually, preschool starts next week here. We're trying to get my oldest son enrolled. So, yeah.
Little Bobby tables, we call them.
There we go.
We have a lot of survey things to talk about, a lot of proposals to talk about. We're going to keep it like a pretty standard Cup of Go episode where I'm going to stick to the topics that I know best. And Jonathan's going to stick to the topics he knows best, such as complaining about people not knowing what they talk about, which you do regularly on LinkedIn.
You don't know what you're talking about, man. I never do that on LinkedIn.
I love the agile. We should do an agile dedicated episode.
Ooh.
Let's put it in the backlog, and we'll get to it in the sprint planning.
We'll get to it never.
Yeah. For now, let's talk about the surveys now.
Yeah. So we have a couple of surveys we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about some proposals, new ones and old ones. And I don't know. That might be the show. We'll see how far we get. But first, surveys. Stack Overflow's annual irrelevant survey is out. I say irrelevant for two reasons. One, Stack Overflow's relevance is just plummeting lately. And second, they only talk about AI, and that's not the point of this show. They do talk a little bit about other things. And we're going to scrape the bottom of the Stack Overflow survey barrel to find the other things. There's nothing to report, honestly. Go has hit a comfortable place on the Stack Overflow charts. It goes up and down a little bit here and there, but it's not 10 years ago, it was oh, wow, Go jumped 15%. That doesn't happen anymore. Go is just has a steady place. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Stack Overflow survey has this interesting and actually beautifully laid out. The UI is great for the survey. I love it. Has hype versus reality thing, which I kind of like. It shows the distance between how many respondents want to use the technology and people who have used it and want to actually continue using it. So you have a great example with Zig or Elixir, where more than 60% of developers say, oh, I heard good things about it and I want to use it, versus actually 5% or 6% actually using it, which I get, right? I heard a lot about Zig, and I use Ghosty, which is that terminal developed by the HashiCorp guy, which is Go all his life.
Oh yeah.
And he's I put, I think, $300,000 in the Zig development fund. I'm oh my God, I wish I was this person developing open source terminals for my free time. While in reality, obviously, I'm not using Zig to make money because I'm at a startup and I need to make money. There's this thing called Gleam. I even didn't get a chance to look at it. I just heard about it. It's 70% admired, but actually 3% have used it and in the last year. And again, when people say they use it, doesn't mean they successfully used it. It's just I've started doing it.
Yeah, they touched it
as
at some
usual.
point.
Rust is really high up there on desired, but it is surprisingly on desired. 30% of people say they've done Rust and they will continue to do Rust, which is surprising to me. I don't know that many people who make money doing Rust. Maybe it's the side project language of the world or whatever.
Could be.
I don't know, Zed. I've started using Zed, not the programming language, the editor. That's written in Rust, and that's cool. And Go is comfortably doesn't have a lot of space between the desired and admired, which I think is a really good sign because there isn't a lot of hype to fall off of, right? There aren't thrones of people who think Go is incredible when they're actually going to use it. They're going to find all the words. 25% of people who are are in the desired part, which means I've used it, I want to continue using it, it's great. 23.4%. And 56% admire it, which means for every Go developer that has used it in the last year, there's one other developer from another language who says oh, Go seems interesting, I want to use it. That seems reasonable to me versus Gleam, 70% of people will say they want to use it, but only 3% actually have. Like, I think that's a healthy statistic for the language, because it means it's like sustainable, but also good. Like, people actually like it.
I think it's interesting. I think I called this out last year too. I think it's interesting that none of these are like reversed. Like, I can imagine that being true for certain tools. I don't know. I'll pick on Jira since it's not related to Go at all, or language. It's not part of the language wars. A lot of people hate Jira. I don't know if more people hate it than use it, but certainly I bet a lot of people who use it and hate it. So I'd actually kind of expect to see there to be at least a few tools, and Jira might be one, where the people who want to use it is fewer than the people who actually use it. But this chart doesn't seem to show that anywhere.
So when you look at Jira, like code documentation collaboration tools, it's like, it's kind of weird. Jira is not really a code documentation or collaboration tool, but GitHub is now number 1. Jira is like number 4. And I don't know. It's kind of confusing to me, but I don't know. Yeah. Monday, for example, is very low on desire. They have a 1% desire thing. And surprisingly, Linear is really low on that list. I've used Linear, like, this is not sponsored. But hey, Linear, if you do want to sponsor us, like, well, I'm open to talking, because one thing we do on the show is like, we're only sponsored by tools we actually like. Man, I like Linear. It's fast. So not a lot of people use it. It's like 3.6%, but more people admire it than people admire Jira. But I guess, I don't know, it's just market share.
Overall, this whole family of charts, the main thing I can get out of this is where the hype is right now.
Yeah, that is true.
Rust is hyped. Zig is hyped. Elixir is hyped. Gleam is hyped. Valkey is hyped. Cargo is hyped. So that's the main thing I see, is where's the biggest difference between people using it and want to use it. That's just where this year's news cycle is hyping up things for potentially legitimate reasons, or maybe it's just bandwagon effect, but whatever.
Hype is not necessarily a bad thing. People should be excited about the technology they're using. Like, I'm excited about Go. Like, I'm hyped about Go. I'm super hyped for all the things that's happening there. It is kind of worrying when you see a very big gap between like people actually using a thing and the hype, just because you're like afraid of the crash later. Generally, though, one other thing I can get from this chart is how beautiful charts can be. They did a good job on the visualization this year. Looks good. There is another chart you pointed out, which is 2.3, worked with versus want to work with.
Yeah.
Can you explain this one to me, please?
So this shows, of course, first off, it only shows answers above a certain threshold, depending on the chart. It looks like, for some of the charts, it's 2,500 responses, some it's 2,000. But basically what it shows is, of people who use a particular language, what percentage of them want to use a new language. So, for example, 5,455 JavaScript users want to learn Go, and 6,146 JavaScript users want to learn Rust, and so on and so forth. And so that shows this relationship between a number of languages, more or less, I want to say, kind of stacked in terms of like how high level the language is, but that's not entirely true. Like PowerShell and PHP are at the far left, and Go, Rust, and Kotlin at the far right. And in the middle, you kind of sort of tend to move towards higher level languages, but that's not entirely true, because TypeScript is to the right of C#. So I don't know how they're organized.
Generally, this chart shows that a lot of people want to move out of JavaScript, and a lot of people want to move into Go, Rust, Kotlin, TypeScript, C#, C++, and C. It's sort of a migration pattern sort of thing. For example, Python developers aspire to use Rust and Go. That seems to be true from this chart. Like 5,000 people who currently are using Python when they're programming want to use Go. About 6,000 of them want to use Rust. When you click, by the way, this is one thing I like about this survey. When you can, this is like all respondents, right? And immediately my thought goes, okay, these people want to learn Rust because it's hype, but they're not actually making money. When you cut it by professional developers, a lot of the languages get immediately like cut off.
Right.
Like they just don't appear here anymore, right? Like when you look at professional developers, Kotlin is not an option anymore because there's just not enough professional developers who answer the survey who find this relevant. And I think Go's relative size becomes bigger. So it's actually like, okay, if you make money using programming, which is not the only legitimate thing. I'm not like saying this is being a professional developer is the only legitimate developer thing. A lot of people are in academia or open source or just using programming as a hobby. And they're response is just as valid. But me being a professional developer and getting paid for doing this for the last like 13 years or whatever, makes sense to me to see that Go, which is like a programming language born out of a company and, you know, aimed mostly at productivity and like actual high scale system. When you look at professional developers, when you slice by professional developers, like it's almost half of the people want to migrate to it at the end.
I think it's interesting if you look at learning to code, that's just the busiest one. Like, which kind of makes sense. I mean, people learning to code don't necessarily have a particular focus. It's the only one with assembly language on the list.
You know what? That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. I started with assembly, by the way.
I started with basic and then learned assembly. So yeah, it's a good thing to learn. It's not going to make you much money unless you're doing very niche types of stuff. But yeah, it's interesting to see that. And Zig shows up here, and I don't think it shows up on any of the others.
Lua. So Lua is a great example. You know why I think people are excited about Lua when they're learning to code right now?
I do not know why.
It's because of Balatro.
Okay.
Filippo, put like the Balatro music here in the background. As many seconds as we can get with without getting sued. It's this like poker, video poker, roguelite sort of. It's really good. Like I'm almost hesitant to recommend it to you because I want you to stay on the show instead of playing Balatro. And it's famously just one huge ugly Lua file. So, I think a lot of people who are learning to code may be excited about that just because of this specific game. Like, I would be surprised if it's not a big reason. Anyway, summarize this survey for me. What do we learn from it about Go?
Yeah, I think I already led with the summary, which is that Go is in a steady, comfortable place. It still can be kind of fun to nerd out about these numbers, but there's not a whole lot of velocity happening here. Go is in a solid place. I think it's found its place. It's not any risk of dying. It's not going to take over the world either.
There is more information here, you know, about salaries and experience and like how much you get paid for your role in the US and in the entire world, and technology purposes, and a lot about AI, of course. Job satisfaction. That job satisfaction, by the way, was really surprising to me. More developers are happy at work this year, but generally 28% are not happy at work. That doesn't track with what I feel or have seen in both tech communities I've been at, Tel Aviv and San Francisco Bay Area. I think most software developers are excited about software development and like it. So I'm really surprised to see almost 30% of them are not happy at work.
Well, you can be excited about software development and also not be happy at work. So
that's actually true. Yeah. People also rank why. So it's like an interesting data to go through, but I haven't unlocked anything I didn't feel like I knew already. And we have another survey that shows pretty much the same thing about Go, right? Basically.
Yeah. So he did a recent survey also, Pragmatic Engineer 2025 survey. And it's not clear to me exactly what methodology used. I think based on some comments I saw on LinkedIn, it was more of a free form, or at least that parts of it were free form, like tell us how you feel about something. And the reason I say that is if we jump down to about halfway, we get to the most loved languages and most loved and hated tools. And Python's number one. Python's most loved. It doesn't give us charts showing like percentages. It just ranks them. And Go comes in at number 9. And then if you look at most loved and hated tools, VS Code is loved. JetBrains IDEs are loved. Jira is the most disliked tool, with Microsoft Teams trailing it. The way that this was apparently done was he sort of took textual responses, at least in some cases. If somebody represented a positive sentiment about a thing, it was considered loved. If it was a negative sentiment, it was considered disliked. So I don't think this is necessarily as rigorously done as Stack Overflow's. Not to say that Stack Overflow's is perfectly statistically legitimate either, just considering, you know, selection bias and so on. But it's still interesting to see, and everybody loves to see the most hated tools so they can feel like they have someone to commiserate with when Jenkins is on the list.
Again, Go being mentioned, like, it's not a niche, like, you know, Clojure, Objective-C, Dart, like super Elixir, super niche thing. But it's not like TypeScript or Python, it's not the number one language people learn for the first time, or, you know, the most common one. Seems to track with what we know, right? It has enough community to be a perfectly reasonable choice. And I also feel like most of the people who mentioned Go are probably on their second job already, right? Or their second language. So you tend to have a more senior just vibe in general. And this survey doesn't mention Go in a specific manner, but it's still interesting when you talk to 3,000 developers, you're going to get a lot of people talking about Go, which is interesting. So survey says Go is a language.
There we go. It's settled. Let's move on to some proposals. We have a few to talk about. I guess we could start with a new one.
Yes, it is new, but actually refers to something we talked about. If you remember, a few weeks ago, we talked about unexpected security foot guns in Go's parsers from the Trails of Bit blog.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention a very good blog post.
I like
last
blog
week.
Posts.
With Jeremy filling in for me, you guys tackled Anton's all new content, right? The interactive show notes and the JSON v2 thing. I feel like this is the blog post version of your knowledge, in a sense.
Oh, okay.
It's from the Trail of Bits blog and Vesco Franco. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So they mentioned some just things you should worry about when you're looking at the JSON parser. Two of them, if the tag is dash, the JSON tag is dash, you're going to have a bad time. So what do you think should happen if the JSON tag is dash? Like just to,
when marshalling or unmarshalling or both, I guess. Unmarshalling, it would ignore the tag, right?
So it's actually it doesn't work.
No, with unmarshalling, it wouldn't do anything. Yeah.
It's very hard to understand how to use that tag. So to tell the parser to not unmarshal, you must add the dash JSON tag, right? But it doesn't work. If you add something like omit empty, then the dash doesn't behave as you'd expect.
Oh.
If you put dash on its own, it works. But if you put omit empty or whatever, it will parse it as expected, which is the complete opposite of what you'd expect. And the reason it's like a security foot gun, you could imagine like, a password field or a is admin field or some field you wouldn't want to marshal or not marshal, like an internal thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you put like dash but you copied even better, AI autocomplete just copied the rest of the tags you're normally using, like omit empty or omit zero. And then when you try to pass it, it does happen. So Trail of Bits did like a semgrep rule that detects it. And this proposal by Alan Donovan from the Go Google team was just like, let's just add these two checks to the struct tag analyzer so you get it built in, so you don't have to install semgrep and whatever. Because this is obviously a mistake. Like there's no valid use case for it. This seems like a no-brainer. It should just be added, right?
Seems like it.
Since I opened this page, there have been 3 extra upvotes on this. So it seems like people are not, like, it's not hugely exciting. People are just positive about it and don't have any comments. Also seems like it's an easy change. So I'm wondering like how to add something to the struct tag analyzer. But if you want to go and do it, maybe you can do it right now. Interestingly enough, the rules right now are semgrep rules, and semgrep is not a Go thing. It's, I think, OCaml or something like that. It's like weird language. But the rule itself is, just a static analysis. So it doesn't really matter what language the tool itself is written in.
Would OCaml be one of the languages you want to learn as a Go developer for next year?
Ooh. You know what? Honestly, next year I don't want to learn any new languages.
Oh.
I feel like I want to go deep with certain technologies.
There you go.
I assume just because of the workplace I'm in, I think I really need to understand the AI more deeply.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, let's see where the wind takes me.
So I think next year I'm going to focus on going deep with Go, pure Go.
Nice segue.
Yes. So, do you have any idea what pure Go means? Just off the top of your head, if you see a tag in a Go file, a build tag, you know what those are. If you see one called pure Go, what do you think that means?
Well, the snarky answer is like grass-fed organic,
free range,
free range. Yeah. But in reality, what I think it means is like, it doesn't have any C bindings. It doesn't have it's just Go code that's compiled to binary directly.
Well, then do I have a proposal for you? Because that's not what it means.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What does it mean then?
So that has been the question since December 18, 2017, when this proposal was opened.
2017?
This is an old proposal. It's in the 23,000s. We're up to 70-something thousand right now. So this is an old proposal. So back in 2017, when this proposal was open, we had a number of different tags that were used for kind of similar purposes. We had an unsafe tag. We had a safe tag. We had PureGo. And the problem is that there wasn't a clearly defined or documented convention about what PureGo meant.
What did it do, though? Like what?
It wasn't really defined. So in some cases, it meant no CGO. In some cases, it meant no assembly. In some cases, it meant no unsafe code. It just wasn't well defined. And there were many packages that used it differently or in overlapping ways. Or there were packages in the standard library or elsewhere that were completely safe but didn't have the safe or tag or etc. This matters primarily, or at least it did matter primarily for different runtimes like an App Engine with WebAssembly or Gopher.js. This issue predates WebAssembly, but it's relevant now. So many years later, and a lot of comments later, they have decided what PureGo actually means. It's a little bit unfortunate because it's a little bit of a misnomer. But the conclusion is that PureGo means it doesn't use assembly. It could still use CGO, but there's another build tag for that. There's a no CGO tag for that. So
that's surprising. Like you hear PureGo, it can use C, but I guess C. It's more of like see what was actually used, right?
Yeah. So most of the after filtering out the safe and unsafe, which already had their tags, doing that. Filtering out CGO versus no CGO, what remained was assembly versus not assembly. So we've settled on PureGo being pronounced no ASM. Essentially, that's at least what it means. So that's what this means now, or will be. It's been accepted, so that will be added to the documentation that PureGo means no assembly. How does this affect you and me on a daily basis? Probably doesn't at all. But if you're doing low-level programming that might use assembly or CGO, now you know how to properly tag your files so that they get compiled or not, depending on how the consumer of your library wants to compile.
Cool. Why did it take so long? Like, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm legitimately asking. It sounds like such an easy decision.
I think it's a good question. And I think the main reasons are, one, it was just ambiguous to begin with. And two, there wasn't really a driving reason to answer the question until recently. And I think the driving force behind this is another proposal, which I won't go into details right now, but it has to do with the new hash mapping that was part of the standard library and is sort of being moved into the runtime, that's an oversimplification. But as a Gopher.js maintainer myself, a few versions ago, back on 1.17 or something like that, changed their map hash algorithm from one that was written in Go to one that required assembly. And that's when I started following this issue because I wanted a pure Go implementation because we don't have assembly in Gopher.js. So it has to do, TLDR, it has to do with where's the boundary between the runtime and the standard library, and how should you tag the files that sort of sit on that boundary? I hope that's a useful answer for somebody.
Well, now that it's accepted, it's just a documentation change. At least now it's clear.
Yes, indeed.
Let's break colon equals time.duration for a second and talk about some things we need to talk about. Like Jonathan mentioned at the top of the show, this show is supported by you. We really appreciate all our Patreons helping us make this happen. Unfortunately, I had some issues actually withdrawing the funds, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. We have a new member, Kokoraks. Thank you for supporting the show as well in Kapago Mini. This is a new pledge level. If you want to support the show, but you don't feel comfortable with like a big pay of $8 a month, which is like significant, right? It's like more than Slack per seat per user. You can do CuppaGo for Mini, which is just like $3, and it is meaningful for us. If you want to find the link to the Patreon or our swag store or the Slack channel where we talk about stuff, you can find everything at cuppago.dev. That is cuppago.dev. And you can also email us at news@cuppago.dev if you prefer that. Supporting the show doesn't necessarily mean financial support. Talking about the show at meetups or with friends or coworkers is also a great way to support the show. Like if you heard something this episode and you're like, oh my God, I gotta tell people at work about this developer survey and nerd out about it during lunch. By all means, talk about it. But when you're done, say, oh, by the way, I heard about it in a podcast called CuppaGo. It's pretty good. Finally, if you want one final way to support the show, leaving a review or writing about us on your blog, whatever. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all these rating systems, that helps a lot. It helps put the show in front of people who aren't directly connected to us through like algorithmic recommendations. So that's great.
Or say something wrong about us on LinkedIn and I'll jump in and correct you.
That's good. Yeah, you can just spread misinformation about the show for sure. That's 100% a good idea. Nothing bad will come out of that. All right. Back to news. So, Jonathan.
Yes, that's me.
I have pop quiz.
Uh-oh.
What is .ttf extension?
True type font?
That is true. What is .vsd?
Isn't that like some sort of meeting invite or something? I don't know what that is.
Microsoft Visio.
Visio, okay.
It's the Visio. It's like the charting thing.
Yeah.
.xul.
Sounds like something I get in trouble for saying it in front of my mother. I don't know.
So I'm reading these off a list. That is the common media types, MIME types. MIME types is like a thing where if you want to communicate HTTP from a client to a server, you add a header. The header is like, what's the media type I'm going to look at? Or what media types am I allowed to accept, et cetera, et cetera. Usually when you develop Go, you see like application JSON, right? Or text plain or application octet stream, which is the default value for just all other cases. And there's an official registry of all these media types. It's like an important standardization thing. So when I say, for example, if I want to give you an AVIF image, then the MIME type is image/AVIF. But if I want to give you my Amazon Kindle book, then it's ASW, application/vnd.amazon.ebook. So obviously someone thought a lot about this, like name spacing and how does it work, blah, blah, blah. VND stands for vendor, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of thought that went behind this, including, applications that are executable and dangerous. They start with X dash. So you could immediately filter anything that contains X dash for security reasons in your firewall, blah, blah, blah. What does this have to do with Go? So there's this proposal which has been accepted about like built-in types for MIME types. It's a pretty arbitrary list and it's a lot shorter than the Mozilla one. It includes just, things you would really know, like GIFs or GIFs, whatever, HTML, JPEGs, JavaScript, JSON, PDF, PNG, WASM, but like, I don't know, not other extensions. So
yeah, it's a really short list, isn't it?
It's like 16 or whatever. And I don't know. It doesn't include Java archives. Like it doesn't include .jar.
Or .zip.
Or .zip. Yeah, like, or .midi. I don't know. Which is these useful formats. Why are you laughing? Every time you hear the intro for the show, it's based on MIDI files.
I thought it was based on audio/MPEG level 3 or whatever that's called.
Oh, no, it's not actually like I did render it. Like I did export it as
I see what you mean. Yeah.
You know what? I think I actually exported it as a FLAC file to be like lossless, perfect audio. But it started as MIDI. At least the drums, because I don't have a drum set at home. There was a short discussion about, wait, this list is sort of arbitrary. Someone pointed towards a specific spec called MIME sniffing, which is like, these are specific types that we want to cover. Sort of arbitrary. All standards are arbitrary. All words are made up. So it's kind of hard to decide on one, but they decided on one. The proposal is to expand the table to, everything that Chrome and Firefox have. So it's going to be 64 entries. And if Chrome and Firefox add new entries, Go Standard Library will follow suit, which makes 100% sense to me, right?
Yeah.
Like MIME types are mostly a client-side thing, and Chrome is the number one browser. So just following that seems like a good standard.
So from a practical standpoint, what does this provide? It provides a mapping between a file extension and a file type. Does it do anything else?
No, just that mapping. The thing it will help you is if you want to upload a file using a Go HTTP client, you get the header you need to put in easily. You don't have to go and open the documentation and see, right, .arc is application/x/free_arc. You'll just have that. Yeah, useful. Standardization. It's a superpower.
One last proposal. We've already talked about this, so I won't go into details, and that is the new multiple handler support for the slog package. This has been accepted. We mentioned it, 3 weeks ago or something when it was new. It's been accepted. And as of 3 hours ago at recording time, a CL is open with an implementation.
3 hours. Damn, we're getting on.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Breaking news. If you're into that sort of thing, go read it. It's a pretty short CL. There's some comments there. Add some comments if you want, if you have concerns or questions. But it's just kind of fun to watch this sort of thing happen. So I expect this. It won't be in 1.25, unfortunately. The freeze has already passed. The RCs have been rolling. So 1.25 will be out. We're into August. Any day now, it will be out. We'll probably be talking about it next week. This should be in 1.26.
And just a useful thing. I'm surprised it didn't ship with it, but it's not a huge deal either way, right?
Yep.
Cool. Let's go to the lightning round. Lightning round. My thing for the lightning round is actually funny that you mentioned the CLs and that it's fun to look at them. Because if you remember, a while ago we mentioned the incorrect expansion of empty string dot and double dot in os.lookpath by Olivier Mengel, listener of the show. It ended up, I ended up, just because we reported on it, opening the change list and writing some comments on it and having some other, people who actually have the permission to approve the code review comment on it. It was really interesting to see it happening all the way through. Because, for example, Olivier started and then we suggested the export it to refactor a thing into a function and refactor some constant into a constant, just, normal code review stuff. And then there are some other considerations, which are, listen, you can't export a thing without going through the proposal process. So just don't export it. Just keep it private. So there are some considerations when you're developing for a standard library or a language that are not normal when you're developing just your own company's code, right? You don't think about every exported variable as a new part of an API interface. That's super important. Also, some fuzz testing discussions. It was just a lot of fun. So thanks, Olivier, for reaching out to us about the security problem in the first place and for detecting it in the first place and for fixing it. I just basically did nothing. I just enjoyed watching it. And the link to the change list is in the show notes if you want to see for yourself.
Cool. And I want to talk about a little tutorial. You ever written a TUI before?
Of course. I love doing them. Not a useful one, but I love doing them.
Okay. I've dabbled a little bit. But if you've never written TUI and you're interested in starting, TUI, by the way, terminal UI. So, interacting, not a CLI, interactive terminal stuff like in-curses type of thing.
They're having a renaissance because of Claude Code and all those terminal coding agents. People are rediscovering the joy of terminal UIs.
Yeah. So this tutorial is how to do it with Bubble Tea, which is a library that does that for you. So from the Charm folks, right? So yeah, link in the show notes. I don't know what else to say. Learn how to write a TUI with Bubble Tea.
Have you tried their new AI agent coding thing from Charm?
I have not. I saw it mentioned recently, but I haven't tried it yet.
So it's 100% Go. Maybe you should. We'll cover it at some point. Nice. We know it's out. We haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But yeah, they also have dabbled in the coding agent, which is basically a for loop on OpenAPI and tools.
Yes.
But it's so cool.
I think that wraps it up for this week.
Yeah, thanks a lot for listening. We're not clear 100% when we're recording next week. Maybe it'll be Thursday instead. But we should have an episode next week as well. So stay frosty out there.
Program exited.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.